Listening to an interview with Diane Lee, who is a I was just listening to an interview with Diane Lee, who is a very highly regarded pelvic PT, and she was discussing what the parameters should be regarding healing a diastasis recti. And I feel like what she's saying is very in line with how I teach and what we are looking for, and kind of the direction that this is all going. So for those of you with diastasis, I feel like a lot of people are really concerned about how big the gap is, how wide the gap is. It's like, if my gap isn't closing enough, I am not healed enough. And the message that has been coming through for the past few years, and kind of like this interview that I've been listening to, is kind of veering towards, the gap isn't necessarily the best measure of whether or not your diastasis is getting better. And here's why. So number one, your gap may not close to what was previously considered a functional amount. I actually still have some amount of a gap. And many people, depending on the size of the gap that you're starting off with, that gap may not close to a point where they've previously said this is how much your gap needs to close in order for you to be considered functional. Like, if you're starting at a pretty wide gap, it seems that the research is showing that there's a certain amount of closure that happens, and it may be really tricky to get the rest of that closure to happen. So what do we care more about? What we care more about is how your body is handling load, how your core can handle tension, and the word that they use a lot in this video, in this interview, is distortion. So when you go to do core exercises, how does your core manage that load? Does your core kind of lose all control and push out and up and kind of create that doming effect? Or can you generate good tension, and can your core handle bigger and bigger and bigger loads really well and feel in control? And another piece to layer into this is, are you feeling better about your body? Are you feeling stronger in your body? Are you feeling more capable? So, looking at how your belly, how your abdominal wall is able to handle load, and are you slowly starting to feel stronger and better? And kind of not overemphasizing what the width of that gap looks like. Because even if we're talking straight up aesthetics, you could technically have like a few finger width gap and have a flat belly, or you could have a 1 finger gap and have like that sort of typical bloated diastasis recti look. So even when it comes to width that way, it doesn't always show the whole. So to sum it all up, while it is not a bad idea to know what your gap is and even how deep your gap is, that's a kind of another assessment point to see how strong your connective tissue is and how much repair needs to happen. We are not going to overly emphasize those. We're going to look at how well your core can handle tasks, whether your belly feels like it loses control, kind of gets that distorted, either bread loafing or just pushing out look, or if it is able to maintain good core control. These will be better indicators of your core actually becoming stronger and more functional for you, often you feeling better in your body. And, if we're talking appearance-wise, often appearance will improve there as well, although I never like to guarantee appearance, because the way our bodies decide to, heal and get stronger is kind of up to our bodies. So I would like you to keep that in mind, especially if you think about the gap a lot. Keep this in mind.